Good afternoon, and welcome to the latest edition of Shooting Straight with me, Voice of the Forge. Now, as you may have been aware, I have been quiet for some time on the Shooting Straight front and on the gameplay front as well, and this is because things have taken a back seat to my studies, which I have found in part more difficult than I expected, and also overcoming the issues that I have mentally more difficult than I originally envisaged. So this has been a trial by fire, shall we say, where basically I've ended up throwing myself into the deep end, and whilst I haven't sunk, I haven't made as much forward progress as one would have hoped. So something has had to give, and unfortunately it meant that one of the first things that I was not able to do on a regular basis were the videos and gameplay that I had been doing. That being said, we are now approaching the end of the student year, and that means that I will have more free time to make more videos and more content, which means that we can look forward to the summer, and we can look forward to more videos on the channel, and for those who are particularly interested, hopefully more of my take on things that are happening around us. Now, there are only two major things that I want to talk about today, and the first is the direction in which the Forgotten Forge Games project is going to be moving in the next couple of months. What we are going to do is we are going to form the group as it is now into a small charity. Now, under UK law, if you have or expect to have a turnover of less than £5,000, you are not expected to register with the Charities Commission. Furthermore, if you don't have that level of revenue, then unless exceptional circumstances are forthcoming, for example the promise of funding of more than £5,000, they don't want you to register for the Charity Commission. Instead, as a small charity, you register with the HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, as a small charity for tax purposes, and that is to show that yes, you are complying with the law as it relates to you, but you're not a big enough charity to actually fall under the auspices of the Charities Commission, with all the benefits and paperwork. That's the downside, is the paperwork that it entails. So this really is the first step in setting up a registered charity. We are starting small. We will have very limited revenue. Basically, the revenue that we have will cover the rent of the hall, and any extra goes into things like providing a small tuck shop, which we then hope will generate a little bit more income, which then means we can then put money aside for people to enjoy games that may well be out of their pocket, and for that we are looking at some of the bigger boxed games that people enjoy, and maybe having club sets of items such as small armies for games like War Machine, Malifaux, Drop Zone, Infinity, games like that which don't require a huge amount of capital in order to get people playing. This is whilst we're focusing on the board and card game things, this is because we can show this to be of the most benefit to other people outside of the group. Now, for those of you who don't know, and there will be some of you, I expect, that don't know what the Forgotten Forge Games project is about, and whilst we're talking about running the club and other things, you're thinking, so what? You're just a club. But we feel that we are more than that. We started as a club. We started as a group of like-minded individuals, 3 of us in fact, who didn't like the current offering, shall we say, of the gaming experience in our local area. Now, we're not going to say any more than that, because those people who know us know the situation, and we are not going to get into any kind of argument with people over the various reasons why we don't like what's on offer, because, quite frankly, some of it isn't necessarily their fault. Some of it is just logistics, and we don't want to identify people for various reasons, purely because that wouldn't be fair on them for something that they necessarily couldn't control. And if we do identify people, then we could open ourselves up to civil litigation. And yes, this is my lawyer's head speaking, having been going through things like defamation and various torts on my law degree. So that's why we're not identifying anything. So what are we? Well, put simply, we are a group of individuals who have come together over time, who all have various extra needs, shall we say, that aren't necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? Appreciated in the wider context. And this is part of the reason why I got involved in the Gamergate controversy and everything else, is because all of our members, to one way, shape or form, have some kind of neuroatypical behaviour. In my own instance, I have massive problems with anxiety and socialising outside of my living arrangements, and other people have issues with OCD, other people have issues with mental health, or it could be something that is more long term, as in very minor learning difficulties or other issues, which mean that they don't like being in larger groups of people. They prefer the smaller, quieter settings, and as such we provide a managed space where people can come and socialise, and we use the medium of games and gaming to provide that lubricant. We don't involve alcohol or anything like that, because, as I said, nearly everyone there is on some form of medication, myself included, and none of it is supposed to be taken with alcohol. So we have a zero alcohol policy, and basically we meet up to provide a social experience for people that wouldn't necessarily have a social experience, and that varies from person to person. But this is something that was set up before I became ill. I'd been ill before, and I knew the problems that people faced, and it had ended up as becoming something that I've had to be a client of, as well as being the founder of. The reason why I have the Voice of the Forge as my title and other things is because I am the person that does the most amount of public speaking and can express himself the most clearly for most of the group. Now, that doesn't mean to say that everything I say is necessarily condoned by the group, although broadly most of my politics do fall in line with what they want, and where it differs, then I do take pains to say that that is my opinion and not necessarily that of the group. So, as you can see from what I've said, we are a group of people who have various mental health or neuroatypical conditions, and we are now looking to try and expand that to help more people. As such, we have had branding for a while on the Forgotten Forge Games front, and what we are doing now is we're moving into a new phase. We are going to separate the charitable side of things of what we do, such as the Forgotten Forge Games project, and that we have things like this on Patreon, and we have a Twitch as well as the YouTube channel where you can find us, mainly on the Voice of the Forge branding, but we are also we now also have a small web shop. Now the web shop is called Myth and Machine and can be found at mythandmachine.co.uk, and at the moment it is in the beta phase. We don't have everything up and running because we don't have the money to be able to afford the running costs of a website at the amount that it would be to be fully operational, bearing in mind that a fully operational website would be about a quarter of the cost of a retail premises. So we have we have a web shop that is good enough. It costs a small amount of money, which we fund ourselves, and it means that we sell some product to the club and to the wider community, not at a loss, but at a reduced profit margin, because all we need to do is cover the cost of the website. So this is a video to let people know that things are changing with regards to Forgotten Forge Games and the Forgotten Forge Games project. We are looking to expand our reach and our ability to help people. We are changing the legal foundation on which we're doing that, and we are also looking to expand. One of the things that we will be looking at doing is writing to people who have been involved with us in the past and seeing if they still wish to support us. And we want to make it as easy as possible for people to support us, even if they no longer wish to be affiliated with the club. Like Patreon, $1 a month soon adds up if you have 30 or 40 people willing to chip in. And whilst that isn't necessarily the cheapest way of supporting us in terms of the various costs, it is one way in which people can at least point to a page where we have the information and we can actually say, yes, we are a properly functioning organisation that is doing what it sets out to do. With this in mind, this is also the form of an appeal as well. For those of you who have managed to get this far into the video, I thank you very much for your patience and your consideration. What we are looking for are simple things like artwork. As I said before, the Myth and the Machine website is very much a beta, mainly because everything on there has been done by myself and isn't necessarily the best. Most of what is on there is some kind of placeholder content until someone much more experienced in the way of web design can give us a hand or something along those lines, and we are basically looking for support in a variety of different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to mean monetary, but basically with regards to what we hoped to do, which was monetize a YouTube channel, with regards to unboxings and other things, in the wake of the advertising controversy on YouTube, we are now looking at taking things in a different way. Any suggestions that you might have would be gratefully received. If you wish to comment on the video, then please do so. If you wish to have a more private conversation, then you can email me at the web address, which is frank@mythandmachine.co.uk, and we can talk via that email, so that we can keep everything on a business and corporate level, and as such protected by business confidentiality and freedom of information rules. If you don't mind what you're talking about, then comments would be fine. You could also leave messages on, not necessarily on the other YouTube channel, but on the Twitch channel. You could email the website, as I've said, or you can find us in a myriad of ways, because it's like we are trying to build an internet footprint. It's just that we haven't got very far, because this is all homegrown so far. None of us have got any special talent in regards to video editing, website building and anything else. This is all purely what we've been able to cobble together over time. So I thank you very much for listening to this video. Any comments and feedback is always appreciated, whether you wish to make them in private or on the video themselves. Any questions, please feel free to ask, and if you have any advice, offer, or want to help in any way, please just let us know. I am, as always, Voice of the Forge, and I thank you very much for listening, and I hope that we can start to build our community with more voices and more content. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.